Now let's turn to the practitioner. Our next speaker is Ms. Valeria Robecco from UNCA News Agency. She is president of the United Nations Correspondent Association. Ms. Robecco.
Abdullah Ananzai, Abdul Manan Argand, Abdul Rahman Ismail Yassin, Abdullah Al-Qadri, Abdullah Mire Ashi, Achyutananda Sau, Ahmed Abu Hussein, Ahmed Azize, Alexander Rastoguyev, Ali Salimi, Angel Eduardo Gaona, Awil Dair Salad, Bashar Al-Attar, Carlos Dominguez Rodriguez, Chandan Tiwari, Gerald Fishman, Ghazi Razuli, Amaud Al-Jaid, Ibrahim Al-Munjar, Jairo Souza, Amal Khashoggi, Ian Kuchak, Jefferson Puriza Lopez, John McNamara, Juan Javier Ortega Reyes, Kamel Abu Al-Walid, Kirill Radchenko, Leobardo Vázquez Atzin, Leslie Ann Pamela Montenegro del Real, Mahram Durrani, Mario Leonel Gomez Sanchez, Mohammad Al-Qadasi, Mohammad Salim Angar, Musa Abdul Karim, Mustafa Salama, Naveen Nishal, Noroz Ali Rajabi, Obeida Abu Omar, Omar Ezi Mohammad, Orkan Zemal, Paul Rivas Bravo, Raed Fares, Ramiz Amadi, Rob Iasen, Sabaun Kakar, Salim Talash, Samim Faramarz, Sandeep Sharma, Shah Marai, Shuyat Bukhari, Sohail Khan, Wendy Winters, Iyar Muhammad Toki, Yaser Murtaya. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the colleagues I just mentioned are the journalists killed in 2018 according to Committee to Protect Journalists. There is no more time for words. We need actions. As president of the United Nations Correspondents Association, I would like to point out the two main issues that keep our profession between a rock and a hard place. Journalists are threatened, and the growing number of colleagues are killed. At the same time, we are threatened by the diffusion of fake news, which has not only diminished public trust, but also becomes a lever for autocratic regimes to attack and persecute us. According to the 2019 World Press Freedom Index, recently released by Reporters Without Borders, hostility towards journalists across the globe is growing. Authoritarian regimes continue to tighten their grip on media organizations, leading to an increase in hatred and fear haunting media workers. Furthermore, journalists in democratic and free nations are also under threat. Essentially, the climate that journalists work in has deteriorated worldwide, and journalism can be an extremely dangerous profession. Last November, the UN Secretary General underlined that in just over a decade, more than 1,000 reporters have been murdered or killed while on the job, and many more have been persecuted, arbitrarily arrested, intimidated, injured, or harassed. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, freedom of speech, not only for the press, but for everyone, is not a gift. It is a human right that must be protected by governments. I echo past appeals by the Secretary General in calling for governments to protect journalists and to strengthen press freedom. But that's not all. Today, I ask the United Nations to make a step forward in addressing the protection of journalism and journalists all over the world by appointing a UN Special Representative for the protection of journalists. Today, UNCA feels more than ever its role as a link between politics and diplomacy that takes shape in their multifaceted relationship between the United Nations and journalism, and its function of communication between the work carried on throughout the UN and its agencies and the work of media that has been called upon to carry out the function of observer and arbiter of such activities. This function confronts not only the risk on the personal safety of journalists, but also the risk surrounding the reliability of information, of that which today is the phenomenon of fake news. The news media landscape has changed profoundly over the past decades. There has been a critical increase in the reach of journalism and social media throughout digital sources, but on the other hand, fake news is accelerating. The democratic tool that is internet has turned out to be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it helps diffusion, but on the other hand, it encourages the creation of niche areas that not only disinform, but reinforce prejudices. The recent new civil war in Libya has shown day by day how conflicts can be conducted not only with weapons and soldiers, but also with disinformation and fake news. Furthermore, political contests today have been deeper contaminated by disinformation and misinformation. There is much more, such as the manipulation of social media and their use as a weapon of mass disinformation, of which ultimately authentic and transparent information becomes the victim itself. There is a risk that powerful actors are exploiting fake news to suppress the real media. In today's context of disinformation, the risk is in fact that people believe whatever content is supported by their social network. And this concerns first and foremost political elections. For these reasons, facing the dissemination of fake news is an imperative for journalism. And it is also an opportunity to prove the importance of new and traditional media and their ability to provide verifiable information in the public interest. This without disregarding the fact that to maintain an open and democratic system, it is important that governments, businesses, and consumers work together. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this is the paradigm within which the debate on freedom and accuracy of information can no longer ignore a key figure such as a UN Special Representative for the Protection of Journalists. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robecco, for bringing in that new call for a UN representative.